What is up, you guys? Welcome to the video. My name is Armand. If you're new to my channel, I am a Toronto-based deep house and progressive house DJ and producer, and this YouTube channel is focused all about helping you guys out, beginner to intermediate level DJs, to bring their skills up to the next level. So what I've got on my channel is a selection of DJ tutorial videos. I'm open to tips and suggestions from you guys for different topics, so please feel free to leave your comments and I'll see what I can do. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and you'll stay up to date with all of my content. So today's video, unlike many of the other videos on my channel, is not going to be a technical mixing technique. We're not going to be at the turntables. This is going to be more of a classroom session about the business of DJing and most importantly, or more specifically rather, how do DJs get gigs? I think it's a little bit of a mysterious or elusive concept to new DJs. I definitely did not know what I was doing in terms of trying to get gigs when I first started out. I basically got lucky initially. I'll explain that story in a second. So we're going to try and demystify a little bit how DJs go about getting gigs so that you guys in your earlier DJ careers can start getting bigger and better gigs more quickly and more consistently. All right, so what I've done, and we're going to talk about each of these in a lot more detail, is I've come up with 5 tips or strategies aimed at trying to get gigs as a DJ. All right, so the 5, in the order I'm going to explain them, the 5 items are: number 1, get a residency at a nightclub; become a promoter is number 2, or 3 is start your own night or event series, and number 4 is to produce music of your own as well as DJing. And number 5 is to provide a service to the music industry, as a service of value. All right, so let's take it from the top. Getting a residency, probably the most difficult one in today's culture of DJing, depending on where you live. And by the way, please comment in the comments section below. Let me know what city you're in and what the scene is like there. I'm very curious to know how competitive it is. What I found in Toronto is that there's an oversupply of DJs, and there's a lot of very talented DJs, in fact, which is a good thing, but it means, of course, there's more competition. So there's not that many nightclubs here that play underground house music. So there's a lot of competition for these gigs, and I think part of this is because, you know, it's become kind of cool or fashionable these days to be a DJ. Much like playing a guitar was the cool thing to do in the 90s or the early 2000s, being a DJ seems to be kind of the hot fad right now. And let me know if that's true in your cities too. I'm very curious to find out. But based on the number of memes and funny spoof videos about DJing that are circulating around the internet, I suspect I'm right when I say that probably it's the same in every city. It's very competitive and there's lots of people learning to DJ right now. All right, so with that said, trying to get a residency, okay? I got lucky in my first year because I got an opportunity to play at a club, and that club decided it was going to start opening its doors an hour earlier every Saturday night, and they needed someone to fill that slot, and I did not get paid very much. I can tell you I got paid $75, and I wasn't playing to a busy room because it was only the first hour they were open and people were slowly trickling in the door. Maybe there was 40, 50, 60 people there by the end, so I'd really only get like 15 minutes of really like some dance floor action where you know, get that natural high that all DJs are chasing. However, why was this so valuable? Well, it was a weekly residency, and just for those who may not know, a residency means a standing gig at a nightclub. It could be weekly or it could be monthly. Some clubs even have a 6-week rotating schedule with a bunch of DJs. But anyhow, I had a weekly residency, and that's extremely powerful because even though I may not be playing to a full room of 300 people, I am getting my name on all of their DJ rosters that they're posting on Facebook and on their website every week. So it's a matter of visibility and consistency, right? Every week, my name was there, Armand, at the top of the DJ lineup. So people came to know me, and as a result of that is it helps you build up more of a social media following. People will follow you on your SoundCloud page and on your Facebook page, and occasionally I would get more gigs out of this. Reason being, other promoters or other DJs who book parties at other clubs would be at the club and they would hear my set and they would like it, and then we would exchange information and we would set something up. So I think it may be hard to find a residency, but be willing to take the opening set or the closing set. Be open-minded. Let the club owners know, or the managers or the promoters, whoever you can talk to, say, listen, I'm starting out, I'm willing to play for 45 minutes, or I'm willing to play for an hour at the beginning of your night, and I'll only need $50 or $100 to do it. I'll cut you a bargain. It'll be a win-win, right? So if you can get a residency, it's an excellent means of exposure, and more gigs will come. It'll have a bit of a snowball effect, okay? All right, number 2, become a promoter. This is one I see a lot in Toronto, is that a lot of the DJs that get a lot of the gigs are also party promoters. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're taking on the full financial risk of planning out the night. That's tip number 3. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But being a promoter means, at a minimum, probably having a promotion business name, maybe a Facebook page for the promotion company that is separate and apart from your pages and your profile as a DJ, right? So say you have a promotion company called All Black Productions or something like that, and then you also have a different DJ name, right? So the idea here, though, is having some clout with bringing bodies into the room at a nightclub or an event. People that can bring out 20, 30, 40 people. If you've got a big entourage of friends that like to party, capitalize on that, right? Get them guest list, get them half off of the cover, and you have a private guest list as a promoter, and you bring these people in, that adds value. So DJs who can do that, whether they're doing it just because they have big draw as a DJ or because they're a promoter, they get the gigs. Because this industry, it's hard to fill the room sometimes. You've got competing events. You're trying to compete with other genres of music even. And it's always difficult to get a club really full. At least what I find in Toronto is it's difficult unless you have a big name international headliner DJ, right? So if you want to, and you have the ambition and the drive and the time to become a promoter, I haven't done this myself because I have a busy day job, and as well I'm trying to work on producing my own music. But if you have the time, definitely try that one out. It can be very effective to be a promoter and also a DJ. All right, let's move on to number 3, which is to actually host your own night or create your own event series. That's basically like taking promotion to the next level, right? It's like being a promoter on steroids. The big difference is if you're going to curate your own event or your own night, now you're taking on more of the financial risk, right? You're going to have to pay for all of the marketing yourself. If you need to rent a sound system and turntables to do a pop-up party at like an outdoor space or in a warehouse or something, you're going to have to pay money for that. You might have to pay for insurance. You're going to have to pay to book the other DJs. And if you have an international headliner to bring in, that's going to cost you a pretty penny. Now, if you're good at this and you create a successful event series, you can actually make some money doing it too. But in terms of getting more gigs, of course, you can book yourself because you are in control of the night. So what I've found in Toronto is there's a series of, or a number of different promoters, event series hosts. They are run by 1 or 2 or maybe 3 partners, but 1 or 2 of them might be DJs. And so they book a party, they bring in an international headliner, and one of the locals gets to play the opening or closing set. All right, so a little bit more work, a little bit more financial risk, but if you have the time and the entrepreneurial spirit to do that, it can be a really good way to get building a lot of strong ties into the industry, okay? So number 4, something a little bit different that doesn't require you to be a promoter or to lay your own money on the line for parties is to produce music. And this is a good one, but I think it's more of a long-term play. It may take a couple years because producing electronic music and producing good sounding music doesn't come overnight unless that's something you've already been practicing for a long time. And you have to also have connections to record labels to try and get your music signed onto big labels. But the vision is effectively this, is that you would produce music, get signed to a record label, ideally that's not in the town where you live, so that the record label may organize some label showcases and some parties in a foreign country or at least in another city, right? So I live in Toronto, Canada. If I want to try and market my music, I could try and go for some European labels, maybe Barcelona, maybe somewhere in Italy, and try and get gigs through the record label in those other countries, right? And that's how I think, and I'm no expert because I haven't, broken out into international success. As I say, I have a day job as well, and I'm trying to juggle both of these things. But I believe that's the way you start to go international and expand outside of your own country's boundaries. So one tip is, because there is a fairly large learning curve to learning digital music production software like Ableton or Logic, that can take quite a while to learn the software. And if you're not a musician and you don't have a musician's background, it's going to take you a bit longer to learn how to write songs as well. So if you want to do that, I would suggest try and start learning it at the same time as you're learning DJing, okay? I wish that I had started with music production earlier on, but I wasn't good at it, so I kind of ignored it for a long time and I focused on my DJing. I'm pretty happy with the way my DJing and mixing skills are today, so now I'm trying to spend a lot more time on the production. However, if I just started both of them and kind of paid them equal attention from the beginning, who knows, I might have had an EP signed to a record label already, right? So if you think you want to produce music and you're passionate about the music, try and start learning. You can take some online tutorials for music production. They're relatively inexpensive, and you can also even find some in-person production classes if you're in a large enough city. All right, so producing music, great way to get your name out there. If you get your music signed to a good label, it's going to end up on websites like Beatport. It might even end up on iTunes Music. And that's, I think, when you're going to start getting some more serious industry recognition, if you can get some songs out there that do pretty well in the charts. All right, so that brings us to number 5, the final tip I can give you, and I think this is one that anyone can really do. It was provide a valuable service to the industry, okay? So what do I mean by that? I'll use myself as an example. My day job is as a lawyer. So what I've found is that in the industry, there are some promoters and nightclubs that have some legal needs. They're not huge legal needs. I'm not going to make a ton of money as a lawyer doing them, and in fact, I'm giving them friendly rates to do this work. But for example, things that I've done before, one nightclub, they signed up a new lease and they needed to have a lawyer review the commercial lease agreement, right? So I give them a friendly rate. People remember that, right? If you help people, put yourself out there, offer to help and provide a friendly price, or perhaps do some volunteer work, people are going to remember that, right? And they're going to reciprocate with a favor. So I've found that in doing some legal work at very friendly rates for some local promoters, I've gotten a few gigs out of that. So that's been a good way of trying to expand my gig horizons as well. And you don't necessarily need to have a specific skill like being a lawyer or knowing about sound and audio equipment to help set up a DJ booth or something like that. You could just volunteer, because there's always general manpower required at the events that promoters throw. Especially you can focus on those that are not held in nightclubs. So when people do a warehouse party or they do a nice outdoor party in the summer, well, there's a lot of just physical labor that's required to move the equipment, set up the speakers, decorate the stage, decorate the DJ booth. Even if you just want to sit at the front door and offer to take tickets and check people's IDs, that's something you can do as well. And promoters will be happy. I can tell you this, they'll be ecstatic to have some volunteer free help. You can just put it under the guise of, look, I like your events. I'm trying to learn more about the industry. I'm a new DJ. I don't mind volunteering for you guys this year and working your events and helping you out. Well, guess what? They're going to remember that you helped them, that you did them a solid, and at some point there's going to be a gig coming your way. So that's the 5 tips. Now let's just talk generally about networking as well, because networking and relationships is really what it comes down to, like most businesses in trying to succeed in any kind of entrepreneurial business. The one thing is, be patient, try and develop relationships with people, develop rapport. It's all about networking, being friendly, and not being seen as someone who's the DJ who's always nagging somebody for a gig, right? You don't want to be that guy or that girl who's at every event just trying to immediately talk to the promoter or the manager of a nightclub or something, and always chewing their ear off and bugging them and asking them for a gig. Try to get to know these people on a genuine basis, right? Become friendly with them, see what you can do to help out in the scene, and guess what? Then the gigs are really going to come, because, and I'm a firm believer in this, those who put out into the world, some help, and they truly want to help others, well, people will see that in the long run, and they're going to reciprocate that. And again, it can take some time to build up. Don't be impatient. You got to DJ maybe some house parties for a while, and maybe a promoter happens to be in the crowd at a house party and likes your set, and then something happens, right? So it starts to snowball in an organic way. So I hope that's been helpful, guys. Feel free to ask questions in the comments section. I'm happy to speak from my experiences or from other DJs that I know, people in town that I've seen them succeed and what's worked for them. I'll share any experiences that I can. And today, since we're not doing a technical session on the turntables, I'm going to just leave you with the first couple mixes and an aerial shot of my setup as I'm mixing my latest Around the Atmosphere podcast. That's my bi-weekly 90-minute deep house and progressive house podcast. You can find the full podcast at the iTunes podcast store and on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/justarmon. Please subscribe and follow if you haven't done so already. Good luck getting gigs, guys, and thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you back here next video. Cheers.
Tell me